Egyptian civilization from your history syllabus. Before that, we will just quickly revise what we have learned so far. We have learned about that the Egyptian civilization, like all other civilizations, developed in the Bronze Age around 3100 BCE. We find that the Egyptian civilization developed on the banks of the river, and it was the river Nile on which the Egyptian civilization flourished. And we have also learned that Egypt is located in the north in such a position that it is a part of the Sahara Desert, and that because of the river Nile, it is having a fertile strip of land on which the people settled and started the civilization. This desert, as Egypt is a part of the Sahara Desert, the desert had helped the Egyptian people in many ways. It had been able to give them, the deserts had provided them with the metals. These metals again helped them to make tools, and with these tools they had made shaped the stones and then made the pyramids with it. Again, Egypt is, because of the Nile, Egypt is called the gift of the Nile. The river Nile not only gave them fertile soil, it also helped them in transporting goods to people to different parts, and it had helped them in growing crops. So that is what we had done in the last video. Today we will learn about the civilization and about the different periods of the kingdoms. Now the Egyptian history, if we look at the Egyptian history, we find that they have been divided into several periods, and each period is known as kingdoms. The entire history of the Egyptian civilization, it has been divided into periods which are termed as kingdoms. And these during this period or during this times when during the time of the kingdoms, there was stability in the Egyptian civilization. That is, stability means there was proper laws in the kingdoms. People were well looked after. There were no such problem. But in between that, the intermediate period, that is, in between the formation of the periods, we find that there were periods of instability. That is, there were no laws and other people's life was not secured, and so this has been termed as the intermediate period. And we find, again I am repeating, that the entire history of the Egyptian civilization is divided into several periods which are termed as kingdoms. In between the kingdoms, we have the intermediate period, that is the period when there was no law and order or there was no stability in the life of the people. Because the kingdoms during these periods when there were kingdoms, the people had stability in their life, there was security of their life and property. So what we find that the Egyptian civilization began around 3100 BCE. This is the time when people started developing a civilization of their own, and Egyptian civilization came up. And we find that this civilization this Egyptian civilization, what we know, began with the unification of the upper and lower regions of Egypt. The people had settled in the upper and lower parts of Egypt, and when these two regions were unified, then we find that the civilization is developing or civilization is progressing. And this unification took place under the first king of Egypt known as Menes. He was the first king of Egypt under whom the lower and the upper regions of Egypt were unified and the civilization started. And he was also known as the Narmer. And we find that the Egyptians, they called their kings as pharaohs. So the first Egyptian king or the first king of Egypt was King Menes or Narmer, who unified the upper and the lower regions, and in Egypt the kings were called the pharaohs. Now next we will learn about the different periods of that we were talking about. First, the early dynastic period, which is from 3100 to 2686 BC. Then we have the Old Kingdom, the Middle Kingdom and the New Kingdom. Now in between the establishment of these kingdoms, the periods that were marked by instability, that is there was no law and order, that were known as the intermediate period. So that is how we study with the Egyptian civilization, and the first king was King Menes, and in Egypt the kings were called the pharaohs. Next we will learn about the Egyptian society. Now, like all other ancient civilization, the Egyptian society was also divided into the classes. And what are these classes? The classes are where upper class, middle class, and we have the lower class. Who belonged to the upper class? The society was divided into classes. The first class in the society was the upper class. Who belonged to the upper class? It comprised of the pharaohs, that is the Egyptian kings, the family members of the kings, then the rich landowners, the high officials, priests, all these people, they belong to the upper class of the society. And the people of the upper class, they enjoyed a lot of facilities, and which the other classes in the society didn't enjoy, especially the kings. The kings were known as the god on the earth. The Egyptians, they believed that the kings were gods on earth, and they respected their kings and honored their kings like gods on earth. So he held a very important position in the society. He belonged to the upper class, and all his family members, the king's family members, the priests, the upper class, the rich landowners, they all belong to the upper class. Next comes the middle class. Who belong to the middle class? That is the merchants, the manufacturers, artisans, and learned people. All these people, they belong to the middle class of the society. And in the lower class, there were small peasants, farmers, and laborers. So in the lower class were the small farmers, the artisans, then the peasants, laborers. All these people, they belong to the lower class of the society. And at the lowest most level of the society were the slaves. The slaves belonged to the lowest rank of the society, and they were mostly the prisoners of war. What does it mean, prisoners of war? That means the slaves were those people who had been captured or who had been imprisoned when there was any war or battle, and then they were made to work as slaves. So slaves, they comprise the lowest level of the Egyptian society. So let us quickly first revise what we have done. The Egyptian society was divided into the three classes mainly: the upper, middle, and the lower. In the upper class, there were the kings, who was considered to be god on earth by the Egyptian people, the family members of the kings, the high officials, priests, rich landowners. All these people, they belong to the upper class of the society. In the middle class were the merchants, the artisans, or the learned men of the society. The small farmers or laborers, they belong to the lower class of the society, and the slaves were at the lowest level of the society. They were mostly the prisoners of war, that is people who had been imprisoned or captured during any war or battle. So that is what we come to know about the Egyptian civilization. So for today, we have mainly learned about the different periods of Egyptian history, how we have divided the first king and what the Egyptian kings are called, and about the Egyptian society. And in the next video, we will take up the next portion of the chapter. And before that, you will read the chapter and also write down the notes provided along with the video. Thank you.